Hey everyone, it is Professor Deborah Oakley here at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas School of Architecture. This is part 2 of my two-part series on image sizes and working with Adobe Acrobat and PDFs. So the first file you'll find on YouTube here down at the link below, that talked about working with image sizes and the frequently misunderstood idea about dots per inch in an image, and we'll see that in here as well. So we're going to be working with this document here. It was a student submission. It was actually a very nice student submission, very nicely laid out. But the big problem with this is that it is simply too big a file. If we look at this on the computer, the document itself weighs in at 200 and almost 250 megabytes. That's one page document. Just one page is 250 megabytes. So if we had 4 of these pages, that would be about a gigabyte of file. Just imagine how long that's going to take to upload for your work submission or to try and send to somebody. So the question is, how can we make that smaller, among other things? So I'm going to go back to this PDF here. And actually, to begin with, I want to show you how did I get those images out that we looked at in the previous video. That's super simple. So to do that, I'm using this function here, Export PDF. Now this is Adobe Acrobat DC 2020. I think that's Document Cloud 2020. So the interface here, by the time you get to see this, who knows, Adobe may have changed it. They will occasionally change the interface quite considerably. It's been this way for a few years, but who knows in the future. So right now it should be here. If you don't see it here, look on the More Tools button and you'll see an Add button for that. Let me just go ahead and take that off so you can see. So this Export PDF now changes to Add. All I need to do is click on that and it pops up over here on the right. Then you can arrange this. This is actually kind of nice. I put this, just the tools that I use the most and in the order that I frequently use them. So there it is as Export PDF. Now all I need to do is click on that, and you have a number of options here. I'm using the image option, and you have various formats. We looked at TIFF last time and JPEG. Each one of these has a little options button associated with it. I pretty much just take the basic standard options, so medium quality JPEG, and I never touch the color management. So all we need to do is click Export All Images, click on the Export button, and then it will look for a place to put it. I've already got it set up here in this JPEG file here. It will default to the name of your file and then add page numbers to that. So I just click on Save, and if we go back to the document folder, you see now I have all of these images right here that were exported. So all of those are embedded inside of the document. And that in turn shows us another way that we can create a PDF. So we're going to get to shrinking the PDF in a minute. Let's talk about creating a PDF. The easiest way I know of to make a PDF is simply to use the command in Adobe that says File, Create, Combine Files into a single PDF. And then you get this window right here. And so what we do is go back to the folder with the files. I'm just going to select all these images here and drag them in here. And we can see them all set up and ready to go. This is not going to provide any format. This is just going to be a container of images. And we hit Combine. And it will gradually go through and pull all of these into one file. I'm going to speed this up and meet you on the other side. Okay, there we have it. It has created the file. And what we have are a number of images. And if you go over here, one of the options, again, you can add this if you don't have it, is Organize Pages. I love Organize Pages because it shows you the overall of the whole file. And you can zoom in on this if you want. You can make them pretty big. That's the largest size. Or you can shrink them down. And then you can simply drag and drop the files, the individual images within the PDF file anywhere you'd like to put it. Now there are some issues. It depends on the size of your images that you put in here, how they come together. See, like there's a difference right here. This one and this one are two different sizes. Now if I turn on my rulers, say show hide my rulers and grids, turn on the rulers, that's Command R on a Mac, Control R on a PC. And we see this one is about 3 3/4 inches wide, where this one is only about, is that one? Let's turn this on to single page mode here. Okay, this is about 1 1/4 inch wide, very small image. And then the one following that is about 2.5 inches. And when they're viewed side by side, you know, they don't match. So that can be an issue because this is taking the pixel resolution, and because Adobe PDF is often used for printing, you want it to print at a specific size. This is the size it will be printed at. So what if I want to actually make these line up with one another so we have a nice looking PDF that all the images would be like this, all the same size? In fact, these are small. This is only 1 inch, 2.5 inches wide. That's kind of small if it's being printed. So how can we change that? Well, let's go back to the Finder here, and we can use what's called an action inside of Acrobat. And for that, not inside of Acrobat, inside of Photoshop. So in Photoshop, what I want to do here, if you don't see it, I'm going to go to Window and Actions, and it brings up this thing over here. These are a sequence of steps that you can do to automate your things, so it makes it a lot faster. So I'm going to create a new action here. I'll just put this under default actions. There are a number of predefined ones that you'll find on the sides here, and you see custom RGB to grayscale, water reflection, cast a shadow, all sorts of stuff. I'm actually going to create a new one here. In fact, I'm going to do 2 new ones. So I create the action by creating a plus button here, and we'll call this resize. Actually, I need to have a file open, so I'm just going to make a new blank file. And size is not important right at the moment. Now I'm going to create an action by creating record, and I'm going to say resize 4 inches wide. And the beauty is I just do this once and it's there forever. And this will be located within the default action set, and you can create a new action set or put it anywhere you want. And I'm going to record what I'm going to do. And this is exactly the actions you would take. So I want to go to Image and do Image Size. So I can do this by the pull down, or I can use the shortcut. On a Mac, it's what do they call it? Option Command I, or on a PC that would be Alt Control I, Control Alt I, same thing. And it brings up this window. So if this is not set in inches, it might be in pixels. I actually want to change this to inches this time. And I will leave the resample on because I actually want to shrink this down and make it smaller. 200 dpi is fine, and I want to set the width as 4 inches. And then say OK. Now the last thing is I want to save that. I'll say Save As. And in the JPEG file, I'm going to call this new folder here. We'll call this Reduced, just to put them in there. Now this file here, the Untitled, I don't even need that. That's only for this recording. And I'm done. So now I can stop the recording of the action. And I'm going to close this. That has created one that is 4 inches wide. I'm going to make another one for landscape images. Create a new image. Go to my actions and highlight default actions. Start the recording again. This one's going to be called Resize 4 inches tall. Save it in the default action set. Recording is on. You see the little red dot lit up there, and I bring up the image size panel. Again, I'm going to set the resolution here to 200 and my height this time to 4 inches. It resizes it. Now I save this. And I'm just going to replace that last one. And I just take like 10 as the quality is fine. And then stop recording, and we are done. Those are 2 actions that you never have to bother with again. So I'm going to go back actually to that folder I just created, reduced. I'm going to delete Untitled because I don't need it, only for that. So now what I actually want to do is couple this with another program called Adobe Bridge. And I have set my systems, double-clicking on this actually opens up Bridge. And it is, among other things, a file browser. But it has many other features that I'll maybe go over in another video. But I'm going to use Bridge here, which if you have the full Adobe suite, it comes with it. It's a fantastic tool. And I'm going to go up to Tools and Photoshop and Batch. Now I need to actually pick the ones that are in portrait orientation, different from the ones that are in landscape orientation. So I'm going to do all the portrait ones here, and there's one down at the bottom, and do Tools, Photoshop, Batch, and I want to resize that one to 4 inches wide. And the folder, I'm going to pick, I've already got it here, reduce. That's the same folder that I just used. Choose that. And the other thing I want to check, if it's unchecked, make sure you have override actions on Save As. And it'll do the whole thing automatically. Hit OK, and it runs it. And it takes just a few seconds. Now it's done. Now let's go back to that folder and reduced, and we see all new images in here. Now I go back to Bridge, and I got a few more, 2 more actually, just these 2. These are going to be the 4 inches wide. Tools, Photoshop, Batch. I don't know why I brought up that error. And this is going to be resize 4 inches tall. Again, it picks the reduced folder, so we're good there. And hit OK. Again, override action Save As. And now we are done. And all 16 images here are now saved in a reduced format. Let's make a new PDF with these. So I'm going to highlight those, go back to Acrobat, and File, Create from Combine multiple files into a single PDF. Go back to my folder, drag those in, and now combine them. And again, speed up. I'll see you at the bottom. All right, so now I've created my new PDF from the individual images, and I've got the rulers turned on, and here we see these are all 4 inches wide. And we get to the landscape ones. Now this one I got a little bit thrown off on. Let me look at individual images here, because this one says that it is less than 4 inches tall, and I realized afterwards I had to re-record this because I had inadvertently sized this for 4 inches wide, and you see up the top here that it actually is in fact 4 inches wide. So that's actually an error. I had to go back and correct that image. This gives me an opportunity to show you this other feature called Organized Pages and what we can do with that. I showed you how it could be moved around, but let me take that corrected image number 10, go back to the folder, and here's image 10, and I can just simply drag that in here, and it will import it just like it did before. And now let's take a look at that. I'll put this in double page mode, and I want to view these side by side. So let's set the page display to show cover up. There we go, and you see the one on the left is actually 4 inches high, and the one here is 4 inches wide, but that's not what I really want. So I'm going to delete that one. And so now all of these images are the correct size, either 4 inches high or 4 inches wide. So that's how we can easily create a PDF. Now let's go back to the image that I was talking about, the file that was too large. And again, this example here is 244 megabytes. So what's the easiest way we can reduce that? Well, we can use Acrobat for that. So we go to File and Save as Other. And you have two choices here. The easiest one is to use Reduced Size PDF. And I, again, keep basically all these defaults. Give it a name. Let's call this Example Reduced. And we'll save it into that folder, and it goes through, and what it does is it compresses the images even further and rebuilds the file. So here we have example and example reduced, and now we are down to 123 megabytes. So it is not quite half of what it was, so that's a substantial reduction. There's another option we have on this. Let me go ahead and get the original one open and close the reduced. Okay, so it's under the same thing. Save as other. This says optimize PDF. It's almost the same, except it gives you further control. So you can downsample the images here. I have this set to 150 dpi, and that's for the printed image again. And so it's going to throw out more data. It's a little bit more controlled than the other one. And everything else I pretty much keep as the same default. And so I said OK, and I'll call this reduced number 2. And this can sometimes help you even more than the other one. It does exactly the same thing. And let's look at the final here. And in this case, it doesn't do anything. It's still 123 megabytes. So it has reduced it, by over 100 megabytes, but this can still be even smaller. So let me show you the best way to get it even smaller than that. That's to use Adobe InDesign. So with InDesign, let's create a new file here. And this is going to be a tabloid. We want to match the size of the original document. And I inadvertently did that in portrait mode. Let's turn that to landscape. Now let's go and place the Acrobat file that we had. So that is this one right here. So we just drop that in. And there we go. Now I'm going to reprint it. So we'll go to File, Adobe Presets, and we could do high quality print. Let's see what we get there. I'll put that in here into the folder I previously used, and we'll call this Reduced 3. And I keep all of these options here. And here is example 3. And look at that. Oh my gosh. We are down to 18 megabytes. The first one, again, 250 almost megabytes, 245 megabytes, down to 18 megabytes. Imagine how much less time it's going to take to upload that from your computer. So let's open up that example and have a look and compare the two. So that's the second reduction. Let's get the first one. Okay, this is the original file, and this is the one I just exported. Do you see much difference? Let me close that so it just doesn't jump back and forth. Pretty much indistinguishable. Let's zoom way in. Let's have a look at maybe this image right here, and then compare that with the reduced file. So that's the reduced image. That's the original. Totally indistinguishable on the screen at this resolution, and a lot of savings of file size. So these are some of the great things that you can do with Acrobat to manipulate your files. We have some other things. Show you the editing. Now when you click the edit button, and again you can add that, you can work with text. You can go right in here and edit this text, and you'll see there's a format option here. And we can also work with images. So this is another way of adding images. So I could maybe add another copy of this, and it brings it in. But now we have some control. We can actually move this around. We can resize it. And we can even click on this and replace the image if we want to. Pick a different one. Let's pick image number 11. So now that's swapped out. And if you decide you don't want it, just click and delete. And furthermore, all of these things, if we click on the edit button, all of these become editable. We can actually scale them up and down. We can rotate them. A lot of things we can do with an Acrobat file once it's created. And then we hit close. It even has optical character recognition, so if you have a scanned document that's a bitmap, you can turn on the recognize text and it will do a pretty good job depending on the quality of your scan. It'll recognize the text for you. Okay, so those are some tips of working with Adobe Acrobat and ways that you can improve your workflow and help manage those file sizes, keep them down to a reasonable size so that everybody's happy. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks.